Very good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to welcome and thank Mr. Nishant Kumar, software developer, Visa Bangalore. Before handing the session, I would like to introduce today's resource person, that is Mr. Nishant Kumar. He's a software developer in Visa Bangalore. He had a bachelor degree in IIT Surathkal, and he has expertise in the artificial intelligence, DevOps, and blockchain enthusiast. And also, he demonstrated uh, our history of working like computer software industry. And also, he held the positions like a convener at Flying and Robotics Club and Student Alumni Relation coordinator at NITK. And also, he has so many achievements. Few I'm going to introduce uh, to you. One is Microsoft Code Fundu, winner of Microsoft Code Fundu. It is held in 2019 for developing an ingenious Android application and selected for showcase at Microsoft Hyderabad and Microsoft Bangalore. And also in Bangalore campus, he has AXLE 2019, and that one of the top 18 teams is competed. And also Siemens Make It Real hackathon event he attended, and he finished in the top 10 among the 1,400 plus teams at national level. And also has a Nest scholarship secured AIR 72 in this prestigious exam conducted for students currently in the first and second year of the BTech degree. And he has one more SSB interview, that is NDA, cleared NDA and interview, also cleared computerized pilot selection system and pilot aptitude battery test, which has conducted by the Indian UPSC organization for induction for armed forces. So we have a very fruitful resource person and knowledgeable. He's going to share with among us next 1.5 hours. And thank you and congratulations to all the participants who we have a good resource person. And I hand over podium to the Nishan. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, everyone. This is Nishant. Thanks, Arun, for introducing me. And it's my pleasure to be here and demonstrate some of my work and what I've learned in blockchain through a couple of years. And so basically, we'll be going through blockchain-based healthcare application using artificial intelligence, and we'll mostly focus on or mainly focus on consensus algorithms. Let's move on. So the buzzword right now, blockchain. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Nishant, you are audible. Please continue. Share
Yes,
your
sir.
screen. Please continue.
My screen is shared, right? My screen.
1 minute, 1 minute. Mr. Arun, can you make the shared screen as full screen, please?
Please let me know when my screen is
Mr.
visible.
Arun? Yeah, it is visible. Mr. Arun, remove me from stream, please.
So, is it good to go, Mr. Arun? Okay, I guess the screen is visible. So the first slide was missed. So yeah, as I told, I'm Nishant, working at Visa in Bangalore as a software development engineer, and we'll today focus on blockchain-based healthcare application using artificial intelligence, and our main focus will be on consensus algorithms. So as I said, the buzzword blockchain, everyone, the technology who are up to date, they know that there's something called blockchain, and a lot of work has been going on in the industry, and a lot of startups and a lot of research work has been coming up on blockchain. And it's also called as Web 2.0, when initially during the last decade when internet was coming up, it revolutionized the whole entire system itself. and now the blockchain is the next thing, and which has a great potential to change the entire industry itself and the way we interact, transact on the internet. So today I will be going through some of the applications. Yeah, as you can see the topics. First, we'll go through some what is blockchain, very high level view, how blockchain works and what things to take care in blockchain, and the applications of blockchain. Very important. There are plethora of applications. I'll go through few of them, and I hopefully inspire a lot of you to work in this domain and come up with something great. And the third one, the most exciting part of today's presentation will be that simulation of blockchain. It won't be any complex simulation, just an with a good UI UX where uh, the viewers can view it and understand how blockchain is working. It will be through an open source tool. The open source community has eased our work a lot. Then the fourth part will be the limitations of blockchain. It's very important to understand the limitations until unless we understand how things work and what are the problems, we can't improve and develop. So that's very important to minimize those blockheads and move forward. And the fifth part, the most important part, that implementation of blockchain in telemedicine industry using artificial intelligence. So this is the part where I'll show you the work which I have done and how blockchain can be included in the telemedicine industry and how we are including AI, and where among this is the consensus coming that everything will be covered today. Let's move forward. What is blockchain? Okay. In very high level term, it's just a growing list of records called blocks that are linked using cryptography. We'll go a little more deep later. We'll just have one more view. That's at the elementary stage. It is literally a chain of blocks. It's just a block of. It's a chain of blocks. When we say the words block and chain in this context, we are actually talking about digital information. The digital information is the block, and which is stored in a database that is nothing but a chain. As you can see the figure over here, it's a chain of blocks. That's it. Very high when we want to convey to someone, if someone asks us what is blockchain, in a very high level language we can just say it's nothing but a chain of blocks. But let's move forward and see whether it's as easy as that. The next part, the four key features of blockchain which makes it a little different from other systems. The first one is decentralized system. Decentralized system is nothing but all have heard of master slave architecture, where there's one master and then there's certain slaves who works on how the master is giving commands. But that feature is not present here. I'll give a real life example. Well, we can take example of banks, which is a central handling source where people go to, and all the transactions, whatever transactions we make, suppose that person A makes a transaction to person B, it has to go via bank. If generally it's a big transaction, we write checks or we transfer amounts to our accounts, whatever it is, we just can't do it without the bank. So decentralized, there is no bank. The whole All the users are bank, and all the users are the customers. So nobody so if we have to cheat a bank, we have to suppose there are billions of users, you'll have to cheat billions of users to to cheat the whole system. So that makes it a very secure system. Then coming to the distributed ledger, as you can see here, there are lots of nodes present all over the globe. It's distributed. The blockchain copy is with everyone. Nobody can hamper it or make any changes. Even if one does, there will be no use because the other copies are there to check it. I will give a great demonstration of this in the upcoming slides, how this thing is taken care of. And the next part is safer and secure ecosystem. As I talked earlier, in decentralized system itself, we can't easily cheat billions of users, because if we have to fool each and every one of them, it's a Herculean task. So that makes it safer, and even where multiple cryptographic functions are present in this, which is not easy to decode. So we'll come to this also. And the fourth part is minting. What do we get out of this? What does someone get out of this? Uh, you might have guessed by now that what I'm referring to, something called bitcoins and other cryptocurrencies. That that example will also come up, so we'll just see that in further slides. So these were the four key features. First one was decentralized system, second is distributed ledger, the fourth one is safer and secure ecosystem, and the fourth one is minting. So this is the high level overview, or the how we on a high level where I can how I can explain how blockchain works. You can see there are some miners. These are nodes present all over the globe, and there's you can see in the middle there is some pool. Suppose I'll give an example. It's a pool of some transaction, as I talked earlier about. A gives some money to B, B gives some money to C, so on. C gives to D, and so on. And so basically what the miner does is they have to make up a pool of this transaction. They have to make a block out of these transactions. The center one is the transaction. There are a lot of transactions. All the miners make a small blocks out of it, and each miner, say miner 1, miner 2, miner 3, 4, so on till 6, have a block. Now the miners, as I told earlier about what is a blockchain. Blockchain is nothing but a list of blocks, right? So now there are six miners. For in this example, there are six miners. Now six miners each have one block, but only one block can go into the blockchain. So how do we decide who will mine? And the most important factor of blockchain is it's a decentralized system. There is no master present here. So how do we come to a solution? The miner one will say, I want to mine the block. Miner two will say he wants to mine the block, so on. So there's something called consensus. We have to come to a solution and agreement among the miners that yes, the miner, this miner is supposed to uh, add that block in the blockchain. That's what the most important topic for today is, consensus. I will go through some of the consensus algorithms in the upcoming slides, and what we have done, and what are the improvements and limitations over there. So I hope this clears your basic idea of blockchain, where there's a chain of blocks and miners keep on adding the blocks to the blockchain. Uh, this is something good to grasp at the earlier, that how what things can be done using blockchain, what are the applications, and we'll go through few of them. That's the another buzzword, that's the bitcoin. Who doesn't know bitcoin? Everyone, that we have been hearing it for the past 2 3 years. Bitcoin's value has increased a lot and all so and so things. So bitcoin has improved a lot in past few years, and the value is continuously increasing. Okay, so Bitcoin is same as a blockchain. It's a distributed ledger, or rather a specific kind of distributed ledger. A blockchain is just a generic example. There can be different blockchains. Bitcoin is a blockchain. As you can see, this is block one, block two, block three. This is a blockchain. This is a one blockchain, which is nothing but a Bitcoin transactions, which is present over here. The Bitcoin's ledger was the first blockchain. This was the first blockchain which was present. But the technology has begun to spread across the global economy. We are seeing a variety of applications in the current world. We'll see in the upcoming slides also. And the reason the blockchain lets you keep thousands of strangers honest and consistent, nobody can cheat, and the system is designed in such a way that nobody can cheat. Everyone has to remain honest and consistent with what they have done earlier. Nobody can change the past. What is done is done. That's stored, so nobody can change that. That's a mystery till now. Who has created Bitcoin? Satoshi Nakamoto. Is he a man? Is he a woman? A group of people? Or a company? Or some random people sitting in their garage and working? Who has created Bitcoin? We don't know anything. It's just a pseudo name given. Who first created Bitcoin? And yeah, so it's still a mystery. Let's hope in coming future we get to know who he is. This is a graphical representation how Bitcoin has performed during the years. You can see at the starting of 2009, they were that's the time it started. The first paperwork came up. The x-axis is the years, and the y-axis is the number of transactions. And just see, right at 2013, there's a small bulge, and after that, it's an exponential curve itself. It has been continuously increasing. There's no stopping it, and people saw a lot of opportunity in this sector, and they have invested a lot. What's the current value of Bitcoin? It's yesterday's 18th August at 11:18 a.m. UTC. It was 9,15,533. You can just see here on 22nd July, just 1 month back, it was 7,13,000, and drastically around just before 20th July, it has increased. So it's ever increasing. The value of Bitcoin is increasing every day, and the people who initially bought it, even one Bitcoin, are now millionaires and billionaires. Initially, they obviously they bought a lot of Bitcoins, and now they're millionaires and billionaires. The That was the example of Bitcoin. So what are the other places where blockchain can be used? Smart contracts. People write an agreement and store it on blockchain. Now nobody can make any changes in that. That's the beauty of blockchain. It's stored on the blockchain, track contract parties, terms, transfer of ownership, and delivery of goods services without legal intervention. There's no intervention of judge, jury. The blockchain itself will tell you whether the previous agreement was true or not, or nobody can, since nobody can change it, nobody can argue that. Supply chain, another important example. By utilizing a distributed ledger, companies within a supply chain gain transparency into shipment tracking, deliveries, progress among other suppliers where no inherent trust exists. The supply chain, every part is a different microservices. We don't know how the shippers or movers and packers will transfer the items, and if they make any changes or do any malicious activities, everything can be stored on the blockchain. Each and every transaction, nothing can be changed after that once it is stored. So even the producer can keep an eye how the further process of transactions are going on. The another use of blockchain has been in governments. I think a lot of people have heard about this, how voting applications are coming up nowadays, which can be done through blockchain. Blockchain offers or promises as a technology to store personal identity information, criminal backgrounds, and e-citizenship authorized by biometrics. So all the details are stored in blockchain and it's encrypted. First of all, it's encrypted. Nobody can view it. Recently, we have come across many allegations on government that the government is hiding some data or viewing some data which is private. But that problem will be solved by blockchain, because everything in blockchain is encrypted. Nobody can know what's present in that blockchain. I'll also All these demonstrations will be coming up in short time, where you will visualize how things are working in blockchain. Blockchain and energy. It's a decentralized energy transfer and distribution are possible via microtransactions of data sent to blockchain, validated and redispersed to the grid, while securing payment to the submitter. The most important part, securing payment to the submitter. Nobody can cheat in that. Whatever amount of energy is given, only that the equivalent amount of energy or the amount will be transferred to the person who is providing. So nobody can cheat there. In the food industry, also using blockchain to store food chain data offers enhanced traceability of product origin, batching, processing, expiration, storage temperatures, and shipping. Everything, again, everything is stored in the blockchain. All the details. So as you can see, the person here has all the details of that oranges. Now, nobody can, once it is in the blockchain, nobody can make any changes about expiration date or the cost of that or shipping charges. Nothing can be changed. Blockchain and retail. This sector in blockchain especially has a lot of startups coming up. Many startups are now shifting towards payment through blockchain. It's basically securing P2P marketplaces and tracking P2P retail transactions with product information shipment and bills of leading input on the blockchain and paying via Bitcoin. Nowadays, even other cryptocurrencies are available, but I will go with the most famous one, the Bitcoin. Everyone knows about it. So, sorry for that. So, the blockchain, in the blockchain and retail, the users can cater all the needs, all the secured information on their PC, and they have to just transfer that amount or in the Bitcoin seamlessly. This is my favorite part, blockchain in healthcare. This is what I will be demonstrating later, what we have done. Just for the overview, electronic medical records stored in blockchain, accessed and updated via biometrics. This allowed for democratization of patient data and alleviate the burden of transferring records among providers. Now, what happens in the healthcare industry? A lot of data is generated every day. Now, this data has to be stored and it has to be transferred to a lot of hospitals when people go from one to another. Now, what? will happen here is the data which is stored now, it will be in the form of blocks which is inside a blockchain. Everyone can access that blockchain, and thus and since nobody can make any changes in the blockchain, I'm focusing or emphasizing on this word make any changes, or you can't we just can't do it. So that's how the blockchain, how secure the blockchain is. And then we can easily transfer all this data among the hospitals. Another example is insurance. This is the industry where a lot of frauds are going on, and we keep hearing a lot of frauds upcoming in news and papers, where this industry has this fraud or something like that. So when autonomous vehicles and other smart devices communicate status updates with the insurance providers via the blockchain, premium cost decreases as the need for auditing and authenticating data vanishes. So basically, we don't need any other person to handle all these details for you. We don't need to hire someone. The blockchain network itself does it for you. The people involved in the network will do all those computation power for you, and it's a distributed system. So we don't have to pay extra amount to someone, and that will definitely reduce a lot of cost. If we see on a single level, then if it's just one person, but we can see billion-dollar industries are present or working on insurance. So just imagine the amount of cost which we can save by using blockchain in insurance. Blockchain in travel and hospitality. Passengers store their authenticated single travel ID on the blockchain for use in live of the travel documents, identification cards, loyalty program IDs, and payment data. This part has upcoming in last all the applications how data is stored in blockchain in the form of blocks. And similarly in the example of travel, all the IDs and travel documents, identification cards, everything is stored in a blockchain. So we don't have the fear of there'll be no fear of, even if we miss some items while traveling, or it gets stolen or it gets lost, there's no worry about that because everything is stored in blockchain. You can access it anywhere anytime. That's how seamless blockchain makes everything. And very important for in the education industry, educational institutions could utilize the blockchain to store credentializing data around the assessments, degrees, and transcripts, eliminating chance of loss of result slips. There's no chance of any loss of data. Everything is safe and secure in the blockchain network. Also, this is the interesting part. We'll see a simulation on a online simulator or a open source tool. Excuse me. Okay, this is the open source tool which I was talking about. You can see here, it's a block. It's this block, gray color block. There's a data present here and a hash value. The hash, it shows E3B0. Let's type some data. Let's say hi, or I'll say Nishant. We can see the hash value is 55C089. Let me type something else. It keeps changing. Each and every time I add something, it's changing. Do you notice the size of this hash? It's always the same. The characters remain same. I can enter an huge amount of data, the entire data present in the government or whatever sector it is, the entire data of a company, anything. I enter it here. The hash value is always the same. So and the hash of nothing is E3B044 and so on. So this is nothing but SHA-256 hash. Whatever we type in, the hash will remain the same for that particular value. Yeah. Now let's use this for the next part, which is a block. Okay, now this looks a bit different from the previous page. We can see there's a block, there's something called nonce, there's something called data, and there's something called hash. Okay. So what basically we have done here is, in the previous one, we just had one data box. Now we have split the data box into three parts. It is block, nonce, data. Block is nothing but a sequence. Nonce I'll be explaining in just some time. And data is nothing but whatever data we want to have. This is blockchain. Okay, this is blockchain. Okay, something like this. So this is some data which we want to enter in a blockchain or in a block. Now what happens, can you see the background, it turned red, so there's something wrong with this. It is because we are you can see I'll show you the previous hash. If you see the hash here, when it turned green, it has four zeros at the starting, and when I type in something here, it changes. Why does it happen? Because we have to generate we are keeping a difficulty value here. You can see the difficulty value here is set to four zeros. Only when the four zeros are present in the hash of the data, only then we can say that the block is valid. It can be set depending on the blockchain community, but right now for this example, we can see it is four zeros. Now what happens is, suppose I type hi. Now I want to make a hash such that the starting four digits are zero. So let's start with 1. It changes to 327 2 FFDE 3 4 5 6 7. Whoa, we get 1 0 here, but it's not still four zeros. Remember, we have to make it four continuous zeros at the starting. It's still not present. So you're getting what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to change the nonce value and get a hash such that the first four digits are zero. So there's a minor present here. We have pressed that mine. It takes some time. Let's see. Yeah. So at the nonce value 59,396, starting right from 1, 2, 3, so on till at the 59,396, we get the hash value, or the first four digits of the hash value, as zeros. So this is how an elementary block is. Now let's move on to the next stage, blockchain. Now we studied about block, now it will be chain of blocks. Right, sorry. So we can see here, it is just not one block, it is block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4, so until block 5. Sorry. Yeah. Now there are 5 blocks present here. Now I'll show one more thing. Now you can see the data present in block 5. I have increased one more to previous. It was initially block, nonce, data, and previous. What is this previous? The nth block has to keep the address of n minus 1th block. So if you can see the hash of block 4, it is same as previous of block 5. So that's how block 5 is linked to block 4. Similarly, if you see block 4 and block 3, 4 zeros B90, and similarly here 4 zeros B90. So this is how block 4 is linked to block 3, so on till block 1. It's very interesting to see block 1. What's before block 1? Nothing. So it's a random value of zeros. It's all 0, and that's it. So this is how starting from block 1 to block 5, and in the so on till maybe millions and billions. Now what happens if I change some data here? You can see it got invalidated over here. Why? Because the hash value is not starting with four zeros. It has changed here. So what happens if I change a block 3? If I type here, you see, when I type data high over here, the hash changed to 9D1C over here. Now the previous address which 4 was storing, it changed to 9D1C, which resulted, when we calculated the hash of this data, resulted in change of hash value of block 4, which is not starting with 4 zeros. And similarly, we can see in block 5, same thing, L61E, which is present here, L61E, which is changed here, and the hash has changed. So you can see, even if the miner wants to change some data, or some malicious user wants to change some data, how he can just make any changes in block 3, and the rest of the blocks get distorted. Now suppose he mines this block. It generally takes some time. It's running from 1 to a large number. It should eventually come as yeah, okay, we are waiting. It's a calculation. You can see how it takes some time. Yeah, so we got a value of 1,38,107. Now what happened is, when we got this nonce value, the hash value has changed here. It became 004 4 zeros 4F 4B, which changed the value over here. But still, when we calculate the hash value of block 4, we don't get 4 zeros of the fourth block hash. So again we have to mine this. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is how cumbersome this process is for someone who wants to make any uh, wants to change the blockchain. Now we got a value here 3969, and again he had to mine the change the nonce value of third block, fourth block, and now fifth block. Luckily you can see it was here 1,38,000, it's still less 39,000, and it's even less over here 16,000, so it can vary. So I'm pretty sure you would have understood how cumbersome and how difficult for someone is to make any changes in this. But this is a copy which is present with everyone. I uh, I just make a change in this blockchain, and I will tell that okay, this is the blockchain, and how can someone oppose me that I'm not right? So that's where the distributed structure comes in. Yes. Now again, we can see here there are 5 blocks. But what's the difference? Now it's just not peer A, it's peer B, peer C. Now there are 3 peers, all having the same copy of blockchain, all having the same copy of blockchain over here. Now, even if I change something in one of the blockchain, will it reflect in other blockchains? Let's find out. Now let's see in the peer B. The peer B tries to change something here. He does that mining part, and he does that mining part here again. Okay. Now the peer B, with his wrong intentions, what he has done, he has made some changes in this blockchain. I'll also come to the point where why people make those changes. There's a good example coming up why these changes are made. We'll come to that. But let's understand how we can stop someone or how the system itself stops someone to do any such changes. Now let's compare the hash value of the last block here. It is 4 zeros are definitely there. It's E4B9. Let's see the third pair. It's E4B9. Let's see pair B. It's 4CAE. So basically, it's a democracy. 3 people are then a democracy. Two are saying that it is E4B9, and one of them is saying 4CAE. That means it is proved that the whatever he has done is wrong, or he has made some changes in the system. Now, why is this very helpful? Why we just compared the last block? Suppose now there are millions of blocks. Now, peer B made some changes in block 3. Is someone supposed to check all the blocks? No, he's not. He can just check the latest block of his blockchain and compare it with other blocks, with other peers, and we can directly tell by looking at the hash of the, if we have some doubt that yeah, there's some malicious activity going on in this, and that's why we cannot take this as a valid blockchain, and it is discarded. And yeah, so as I was talking about why what exactly this data will contains, let's see over here. Okay, this makes it a bit complicated, but it's more easy to visualize. It's again 5 blocks, peer A, peer B, and peer C. But there is no data block here. It's a transactions. Now, if we see block peer A block 1, we see that $25 has been transferred from Darcy to Bingle. Similarly, $4.27 from Elizabeth to Jane, so on. Now, this makes some sense. What data it exactly contains, what is present in blockchain, or I gave you a lot of examples of blockchain where useful data has to be stored. So this shows some or gives us a visualization that yeah, there's some good data which is getting stored and how things are working. So this gives some clarity that data in such formats can be stored. Okay, so now suppose the user wants to, or some person wants to make a change here, you can see it becomes repetitive. I told earlier also, if you change anything here, it has to be it is detected by the system, and the hash value is changed. It is B6DAA here, it is BAA0, and it is BA0. So we definitely know that there's some problem in this blockchain, somewhere it is present, and some data has been hampered or some amount has been uh, uh, changed. So we can just there's no probability that someone can fool the system. There can be no scams. If there's any change in the system, it is reflected back, and that's what makes it more secure. But the real question is, can we make it even more secure by understanding where that or where yeah no basically I'll add here one more thing, which is called Coinbase. Yeah, that's what we have to understand, that whether so let's say take example of Anders. We generate some $100 for Anders, and now we know that Anders have $100. Now what Anders does is it gives $10 to Sophia, but the system should know that does Anders have $10 to give. That's a very important task, where even in the banks, whether the bouncing of checks or anything, if you don't have that money, you can't transfer it. So obviously the system knows that Anders has $100. Only then he can transfer those $100 to Sophia, or $20 to Lucas, $15 to Emily, or $15 to Mediso. Similarly, now we know that Emily is transferring $10 to Jackson. But is it not important to know that whether Emily has $10? How do we know that? We know this from the previous block. We know that $15 were transferred from Anders to Emily. Thus, Emily is liable, or she is correct in transferring those $10 to Jackson. Similarly, so on. So I won't repeat again the process of mining, but we can understand. We have included another feature here called Coinbase, which keeps a track that whether that person is having that much amount or not. Similarly, in other blocks. Now, we always look for some making things more secure and more secure. Then we can Now that's where the cryptography comes in. Let's look at it how it works. As you can see, it's a public private key pair. There's a private key, there's a public key. I change anything in the private key, the public key keeps changing. It's changing. So basically, public key is just maybe a bank password which you have, and public key is the account number. So what happens in current scenario with the banks is the banks itself generate a account number for you where you can set your own private key. But here there is no bank, so the person or the user can just generate his own private key and public key. So private key is known to the person and public key is for the common public. And now how signature works, we'll see over here. Okay, there's some message here. Let's say uh, this is blockchain session. Okay, this is some message here. This is a blockchain session, or I'll change it to this is a blockchain session. Okay, now we got the private key from the previous tab. Now I sign this. Now this data message in private key is signed, and I get a message signature. You must be very aware of how things work in a checkbook. We sign the checkbook, and there's the so to authenticate that yes, this checkbook is signed by someone, is by signed by a valid person for the banks to check. Now how do we verify it? We cannot see any private key here. For verification, we don't need the private key. We just have to know the public key, which is present for the common people, and we have the signature. So this is the same analogy: the account number and the signature. The bank matches the account number and the signature and the data. Now if I click on verify here, yes, this block is verified. Now if I change something here, this I removed. Okay, this is blockchain, it's invalid because the data has been hampered with. So this is how cryptography works in. You can just as I told you earlier about in the blockchain how secure it was, this is adding another layer of security by introduction of cryptography. Now let's move on to the transactions. Okay, now data, again data has to be some which is easy to understand. And let's see, let's sign this block. Okay, we get this signature. Let's verify whether, yeah, so we can see that some amount has been transferred to some account number. and the amount was $20. Now, if I change it to 120, now suppose someone can say that this amount has transferred to this person and the amount is 120, but it's invalid because it was signed on $20 itself. So this is how in real life applications the verification comes into the picture. Okay, now this is a very known picture to you all by now, but looks a bit more complex. There's some numbers, but I'll just go through that. Block remains same, nonce remains same, Coinbase is also same. In the transaction, we can see there's some units, there's some dollar amount, some account numbers, and signatures. Now we know that $7 has been transferred from this public key to this public key, and this is a signature. And as I told earlier, it's a peer-to-peer network. Now I'll show you a live example that how things can go wrong. Now suppose I say that this public key is transferring $117 to this to this public key. Now you can see the whole box turned red and the signature also turned red. Now suppose I mine it, taking some time. It is let's wait for some time. Mm, okay, it's a lot of calculation. I'm guessing a big number for this. Okay, it's taking a lot of time. Okay, let me try this for some other number. Okay, got it. Now you can see now we got 178101. This is now the block has turned green. But can you see the signature? It's still red because the signed amount of $17 or the $7 was from this public key to this public key, but it was not $117. So even if now there we can check in two different ways here. The hash would have changed C196. It is here it is 4B0 and here it is 4V0. Now we definitely know that something is wrong in this blockchain, but we also know where and what is wrong. Where is wrong? We can't say what is wrong, but where it is wrong. There's some problem in this transaction because the signature has turned red. So by now you would have guessed that I have showed you a lot of security features by now, and the cryptographic function just eases a lot of things, and by telling us where that mistake is present in the blockchain. I think that was a lot for demo. Now let's come back to the presentation. We'll see a few limitations of blockchain. It's very important to look at before proceeding further. The blockchain comes at a great environmental cost. Uh, I will be explaining about proof of work, but in short, the as I told that you can see the computation happening on my PC, right? When it was taking some time from turning from red block to the green block. What exactly was happening there? There was some calculation which was happening, which was counting the nonce value from one up till a huge number. Sometimes it was less, sometimes it was more. So it depends, but that calculation needs some computation power, and everyone is back of earning money through behind earning money through bitcoins, and that's where people are now buying specific uh, buying CPUs, GPUs, and ASICs. That is, uh, ASICs is nothing but something similar as pen drive, where you just attach it to your PC, and it will do that calculation. Because suppose you want to mine a block on your mobile phone, that's not feasible because your mobile phone is not designed to take so much load for computation power, and it will, even if it does, it will slow down your machine or your mobile. So that's where the industries are developing few things called ASICs, that is application specific integrated circuits, which you can just plug in same as pen drive and it does the computation power for you. But we can see a live example. Bitcoin last year it claimed that computing power required to keep the network running consumes as much energy as was used by 159th of world's nation. Now, this is a lot of energy. Are we even generating that much amount by Bitcoin, or we are spending more than that? So we have to take care of such things. So people nowadays are shifting towards solar power, and that's where green computing comes in. We have to take care of our environment. So solar power, or other renewable resources which can reduce the cost of electricity and make it the economy greener. Yes, it's a very important. Lack of regulations creates a risky environment. There's a lot of risk present in the blockchain industry, but it does not stop us from using it. Even if we face some accident, we don't stop using the vehicle. We make it even more safer. Recent scams and markets are, yeah, it's for commonplace. Among the high profile cases is OneCoin. It was very famous case. It was recently revealed as a Ponzi scheme, which is believed to have robbed millions from investors who believed that they were getting in early on what would become the next Bitcoin. This is one of the most famous scams, and very recently, you would have heard that Twitter accounts of very famous personalities like Trump and Bill Gates were hacked. Now, what the hacker did, he wanted the money in the form of bitcoins, although it was small, but he wanted the money in the form of bitcoins. Why did he want in the money of form of bitcoins? Because it's untraceable yet. There are no regulations yet. So the governments and many companies are working in this direction, because if you are using something, it has to be secure. If it is not secure, then there is no point of using it. So a lot of work is being done. Many governments are taking up this as a project and implementing a safer marketplace for blockchain in their country. Yes, it is. This system is little complex to understand. I hope till now it was not complex. I have tried to ease the concepts, but yeah, for a common man who is not well known with the technological terms, yes, it is complex to understand. People find it intricate, and they eventually leave the blockchain system, or stop understanding it. It takes a while and a good bit of reading before the man on the street can see what makes blockchain potentially so useful. Yes, it is useful, but the person has to understand it. So that's a small bottleneck. But eventually, people do learn, because initially, when things like Google Pay and all these things came, people didn't know how to use it. But eventually, people get used to the fact that yes, it is more easier, it is more seamless, safe, and that's why they shift to it. And in the current recent times, we all know how useful these UPI has come proved to be. Now just imagine if we understand blockchain, and we know how secure it is, how easy to make the life of common customers and the business place. Yes, blockchain can be cumbersome at times. Why? Due to their complexity and their encryption nature and distributed nature, blockchain transactions can take a while to process, certainly compared to traditional payment systems such as cash or debit cards. Now, what happens in cash or debit cards? We just pay the 10 rupee note to someone, but here it does not work like that. You pay someone, but that has to be accepted by the entire network. The entire network should know that some amount has been done, uh, and it takes some time. So that is the place where again lot of work is going on, and people are working to make it to take lesser time and produce better results. Now the we come to the final part, the implementation of blockchain using AI, which I have done. I'll just drink some water. Okay, an implementation of blockchain using AI. So blockchain plus artificial intelligence, and I have combined it together for the healthcare industry. Let's see how we managed to do that, combining blockchain and then using AI, and how we have modified the healthcare industry. Before moving, we have to understand what is consensus algorithm. And now it's almost the last topic, and I haven't talked about consensus algorithm. I just mentioned it, but what exactly is consensus algorithm? You must remember the slide where there were multiple miners present, and there was a situation where how to decide who will become a miner. So that's where consensus algorithm comes into the picture, where the network itself decides who will be the miner. Now there are multiple ways present how to do it. Let's see few of them. Proof of work and proof of stake, the most famous ones. Proof of work, it is very much used in the Bitcoin network. The central idea behind this algorithm is to solve a complex mathematical puzzle. This mathematical puzzle requires a lot of computational power, and thus the node who solves the puzzle as soon as possible gets to mine the next block. Now, I'm very much sure people are relating what I showed in the demo with this definition. The calculation of nonce value which is happening there is the same as the complex mathematical puzzle. It's here it is easy. They have to just calculate the nonce value, but there are some complex mathematical puzzle, and it's a competition. It's a race. The miner who completes that, finishes the race first, is the winner, and thus he gets to append the block in the blockchain. So what does he get in return? That's where the minting comes in. Since he has done some work, he has used some computational power to validate the block and add it on the blockchain. He must be rewarded, and that's where his the Bitcoin rewards the Bitcoin network rewards him with some amount. So that's how Bitcoin and proof of work consensus algorithm comes in. Now another famous one is proof of stake. It's also a very simple model where validators invest in the coins of the system by locking up some of their coins as a stake. The validator is chosen to generate a new block based on economic stake in the network. I'll take an example of I'll take an example of four different miners. Suppose, say, a miner A has 10 bitcoins, miner B has 20 bitcoins, miner C has 30 bitcoins, and miner D has 40 bitcoins. Now, what they do, they put this amount as a stake in an enclosed box. Suppose, yeah, the miner A is putting 10 bitcoins, so on till the miner D is putting 40 bitcoins. Now, what happens is we the system is designed in such a way that the one who puts the highest amount of money has the highest chance of becoming a winner. So the minor D, if we combine 10 plus 20 plus 30 plus 40, it sums to be 100. So the probability of minor D becoming a winner is 40%. Similarly, C will be 30 by 100, that is 30%, minor B 20%, and minor A 10%. So the one who puts more at stake has the higher chance of becoming the winner. But can you see a disadvantage here? The rich gets richer. The since the minor D has 40% chance of winning, let's say the minor D has won. Now he will get some, since he has won, he has mined the block and added to the blockchain network. He should get some amount. And let's say suppose he get 20 bitcoins. Now his total wealth is 60 bitcoins, whereas other remains at 10, 20, and 30 respectively. Now if we sum those, 60 plus 30 plus 20 plus 10, that comes to be 120 bitcoins. Now uh, we can easily calculate the probability of miner D is now 60 by 120, that is 50%. Initially he was 40%, now he is 50%. It's clearly shown here that the rich can get richer, and he can dominate the entire network. And just imagine if he keeps winning, then he will eventually, the next time he will eventually have more probability of winning. So what is the proposed approach? AI, just another buzzword in the industry. Blockchain, Bitcoin, AI, all of them are entirely changing the industry itself, and that's where we have combined blockchain and AI. So, what is the problem statement? It is basically to design and develop an AI based miner selection algorithm for blockchain network to ensure fairness among the miners and to maintain the chain of blocks in an efficient manner. It's a very simple language what we are trying to uh, solve here. What the problem statement is, we have to look at the objectives which we are trying to cover here. Basically, we have to set up a blockchain network. It was a project where nothing was present initially. We have to set up the P2P blockchain network, and we had no data about the miners. So we had to extract those information about the miners. The next sorry the next objective was to design a novel AI-based learning algorithm to choose superset of miners among the active miners to publish the block. Now this is what consensus algorithm is. We have to design a algorithm such that we can efficiently and without any biasing choose a miner. And ultimately, the most important part, we had to even if we do all this thing, what should we achieve out of it? We have to deploy the AI based learning algorithm on a healthcare information sharing blockchain network to analyze its performance. So these were the objectives. Let's see how we have covered it. Now, what is proof of AI? We have given this name as proof of AI. You must remember proof of work, proof of stake. So this is proof of AI, proof of artificial intelligence. So what we do is we use existing miner information. A learning model is generated. Now this model will grade miners of the blockchain and select a winner. Now winners are decided based on the following four features. We see in how many blocks the miner has mined, how many the number of faulty transactions. Now faulty transaction is very important because you have to penalize the miner if he has tried to do any faulty activities. I must mention this example of proof of stake, which you must remember, that miners were putting some stake, as I gave the example of 10, 20, 30, and 40. They put their stake, but what if someone has done something wrong? So that's what proof of stakes penalizes the miner with a hefty amount, so that his the whole wealth decreases, or how much stake he has done, that almost becomes nothing. So we have to penalize the miners. Now time taken to mine a block. Now we also have to take care that the one who is taking lesser time to mine a block should be given some priority. And definitely the age of the miner. Now age of the miner is the time since the block has been mined by that miner. Suppose there are let's take the same example, A B C D. They have the suppose in the first iteration the block D mines the miner D mines the block, then C mines the block, then B mines the block, then again D mines the block. The A did not get the chance to mine the block. So now, since there are four iterations done, his age will become 4. So we have so the system is designed in such a way that it should not be biased to someone. Suppose since only B, C, D are mining the block, it should not be such that from the next time only B, C, D gets to mine the block. We should give a chance to A too. So that's where the age of the miner comes in. And we have to answer this problem, why proof of AI? First of all, it is cost effective. It is not extensively dependent on computation power like proof of work. We are not using extensive chips or something to solve any mathematical problems. The network is fair. The last point in the previous slide, the age, the miners have an age factor which will give them a chance to be chosen. The one who has attained a certain age should be given a chance. And network will be safe because malicious nodes have a very low chance of being chosen as the miner. I'll show it in the form of results how this is happening. So this is the graphical representation. As you can see, there are multiple nodes, all this blue color and red. There's one red color node. So what happens is one red color node is selected and he gets to mine the block. So this is the visual representation, how where the miner is getting selected. Now this is the crux. This is the whole idea how we are integrating ML model and the blockchain architecture. We'll keep since this is a blockchain lecture, we'll mainly focus on the blockchain itself. The scope is blockchain itself. As you can see on the top, there's DNN model and blockchain network. Now these are two separate entities. There's one machine learning DNN model and blockchain network is the network. So what we do is blockchain network and DNN we combine them using a server based network and make a proof of AI consensus mechanism. Now what we do, we this is a flow chart. Let's set n equal to 0, where when we move forward, when n is less than 100, uh, the it's true, the miner selection happens, that is using the proof of AI consensus mechanism. The miner is getting selected, the block is getting mined. Now two things happen here. First of all, we have to increment the value of n to n plus 1, and we have to, since in this the block mined state there are few changes in the data set, because the age of some miner would have changed, the time to mine the current block has been added, and if it's a faulty transaction it has to be added in the data set. So this feature is modified in the data set. Now when again we iterate back here, now when it becomes so until n to 100, now when n becomes 101, this condition becomes false. And when we come back to our modified data set, Now this modified data set is now this modified data set is set to is now this modified data set is again sent for training, because this is important, because the ML model has to be updated continuously, because the things are changing and it has to be taken care of. So that's where we have to again train the DNN model. Now this DNN model, when we train it, now we again intimate that yes, the DNN model has been changed and it has been updated. Now you can again combine it with your blockchain network and you can continue this process. So this is the architectural level view and how we integrate DNN model with the blockchain architecture. uh, I think there were a lot of things till now. It's very good if we recap what was done till now. The first step was we set up the P2P blockchain network, where we created the blockchain network. Now we generated the data set using this blockchain network. Now ML model was trained. Based on this ML model and combining with the blockchain network, the miner was selected. Now when the miner was selected, appending the mined block to the blockchain. This was done by the winner or the selected miner. I hope this clears your till now what we have done. Visualization is clear. Now what application was developed? Now it's completely clear that what were the steps taken, what were the steps done till now. We'll move on to the application developed using this architecture. So what was the problem which we are facing? The major problem with the current healthcare system is the time data takes to get documented, and problems with exchanging data between different parties while maintaining data privacy. So that's where the solution is blockchain as a service model is used to solve the above stated problem. Let's see how. In the healthcare application, we'll just see what are the things which are present in the healthcare application, so that you know that what this system actually is. It's the result will be ledger available to different hospitals with only correct data inputted, as the data will be verified before adding to the blockchain. The implementation is a Python based system. We implemented using a Python based system to communicate with the blockchain network. In this application, hospital authorities can store patient details like blood pressure or beats per minute and any other details, which is then added to the transaction pool. You must remember the transaction pool was a diagram where six miners were present around it. They used to collect the data from the transaction pool and make a block. Now, once the transaction has been verified, the data is added to the blockchain. This is how the simple implementation what we are doing. Let's see a diagram view. You can see at the bottom there is internet. On the top of internet, there is peer-to-peer network where lots of nodes are present. Now the transactions takes place. Here the transactions will be nothing but the storing of data like blood pressure or beats per minute. Now it is combined in the form of blocks by the miners. A consensus is achieved by the system. Now it is displayed that yes, this miner has in the state machine, it is displayed that this miner is selected, or the miner knows that this miner that he's selected or she is selected, that machine is selected, and then that block is added to the blockchain. Now it's very good to see that users does not have to take care of anything present here, either state machine, consensus, blogs, transactions, P2P network, or internet. User just has to take care about the healthcare application, where the hospitals are just adding their normal details, and the rest entire network takes care about the security and immutability, other things. So it's very also important to look at what did we observe. So the result and analysis. The four factors which were benchmarked with the frequency of being selected as a miner. The frequency of selection was directly proportional to the number of blocks mined by the miner. Yes, the miner who mines more block should have a higher frequency. Now, frequency of selection was inversely proportional to the number of faulty transactions by the miner. Definitely, the miner who has done some faulty transaction should be given some penalty. Now, the time taken to mine by a block is also inversely proportional to the frequency of selection, because the one who's taking longer time, there should be some the frequency should decrease, because it's not efficient. And the frequency of selection is directly proportional to the age. As the age is increasing, his frequency should increase. Thus, the chance of being a winner increases with age. hence giving idle miners a higher chance of being chosen compared to a miner who has just chosen, and therefore increasing the fairness of the system. Now this will give a more clearer view. There are four graphs present here. You can see the y-axis is frequency of selection in all the four graphs, and the x-axis are the four different parameters: number of blocks mined, faulty transactions, time to mine, and age. We can see the frequency of selection is directly proportional. The graph is continuously increasing with the number of blocks mined. Now frequency of selection with the faulty transactions, you can see it is, the graph is decreasing, it's decreasing, and in a the rate of decrease is decreasing, but it's ultimately the graph is going downwards. You can compare for this graph with the yellow color graph. The rate of decrease, it is linear here, but it is not linear here. Here a more it shows that a more penalty is given to someone who has done, suppose that a miner has mined one faulty block, so you can see the drastic decrease. But here there's no such drastic increase, which proves that the one with faulty transaction gets a very immense penalty. But the time to mine also, the graph is decreasing. You can see as the graph is increasing at a decreasing rate, but it is increasing. The miners who has a higher age has a higher probability of getting selected uh, as the miner, or the nodes have the higher probability of getting selected as the miner and mining the block to the blockchain. So the graph is the entire attraction of our project itself, because this age factor was not done earlier, and we have introduced this factor to ensure the fairness of the system. And I won't say there were not any limitations. There were a limitation in this. As new blocks are added, the state of miners, that is the number of blocks mined, faulty transactions, and age change, right? That all these data was changing, as you remember in that flowchart diagram. This calls for a need to retrain the data set every few iterations to keep the system behavior and function accurate, which is a time consuming process, right? You remember the after 100 iterations, uh, the model was trained again. This might result in the usage of an outdated model of selection of winners. If we are not training after certain iterations, it will keep running on an outdated model, which is not correct. This number of iterations would only increase with the increase in number of miners in the system. These iterations will definitely increase. So we have to choose a certain number such that uh, where we balance both, we are not consuming the time process also, and the model should be retrained. So, what conclusion did we achieve? In our work, artificial intelligence was used to create a novel method to achieve consensus among nodes in a blockchain network. This network was used to generate the data required for dataset for the learning algorithm, and a healthcare application was built over this system to verify our results. I have given you an overview and a complete structure how our project worked, where we initially set up the blockchain, derive data from that blockchain about miners, and then we train machine learning models to identify who will who will be the miner. The machine learning itself was the crux of the consensus, that is the artificial intelligence was the crux of this consensus algorithm, so it was named proof of AI. Now based on proof of AI, the miner was getting selected. Now after this miner was getting selected, he can mine the block and add the block to the blockchain, and we use this blockchain network on a application in the telemedicine industry, which was shown again with the help of an example where the user was interacting with the healthcare application without worrying about anything happening inside the network. So we come to the end of this presentation. Does anyone has any questions? We are open to the questions.
Arun sir? Mr. Nishant.
Yes, sir.
So it was a very nice presentation here. So you have given a
Okay.
complete insight of so how this blog contents works, and if something goes wrong, so what could go wrong. It was really nice, very nice. So far we are not we haven't got any questions.
Okay.
So I myself have one question. Can I ask?
Sure, sir.
Uh,
Sure.
so what could be the future of AI in blockchain?
Uh, First of all, the limitation itself is a bottleneck right now. We have to decrease some time there. And sir, AI has lot of uses right now. There are a lot of applications coming up. Different industries, big industries like Microsoft, Google, and all, they have their own separate uh, department which is working on different applications of AI. So to make, and always we know that we have to make the system secure, and the blockchain is the current the current technology which is taking care of this. So if we combine with certain applications of AI and blockchain, it will definitely give a good and secure network.
Yes, thank you. And we heard that you have cleared the prelims of pilot exams.
uh, yes sir, that was long back, not recently.
Do you have any plans to become pilot?
I say I had plans of becoming a pilot, but the life happened and I joined engineering.
Okay, okay. So please keep trying. So we would like
Sure.
to see you in one of the flight what we travel as a captain.
uh, let's see, sir.
Okay, so anything else to left like any concluding remarks for the session?
That's it, sir. I have covered. I have tried to cover a lot of things. If someone has any doubt, they can definitely throw it. I will try to answer them. But I have concluded everything. So
Okay, okay. So we're going to give the feedback form for the participants immediately after this session. So as soon
okay,
as we get the feedback, we will forward that to you. So for the
sure.
self-analysis and all those things. And so it so happens like even after the session, also some people, some delegates will put question. If such is the
Definitely,
case, we will get back to you.
definitely. They can definitely get back to me. I'll try to answer the questions.
So can you share your email ID, please? If like any participants are really interested in your work and if they want to enhance their knowledge in AI
So
with
should I
blockchain,
just, yeah? So should I just spell it out or on the YouTube channel or
can you
so?
type it in a Word document, please?
Word document. Okay. Uh, I hope my screen is visible. Nishant KR 1997. Yeah, it's here. I hope everyone can see this. It's Nishant KR 1997 at the rate gmail.com. NISHANT KR 1997 at the rate gmail.com.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Nishant. So thanks for
It was
accepting our invitation. And it was a very short notice for you. So just 2 days
yeah,
back, I contacted you, and you readily agreed for it. And I hope
it
our
was
association goes on for years. And I'm going to disturb you
definitely,
for the coming workshop as well for the speaker.
definitely.
Huh?
Definitely, it was my pleasure. It was my pleasure giving this lecture, and it was great. I sincerely hope that people got inspired. What are the different applications of blockchain, and they definitely take up blockchain as their course and study, and maybe develop new protocols, mechanisms, or even some great startups in the future.
And this research paper got accepted in one of
Yes,
the
this
reputed institute. No? So I forgot that.
Yes, I would like to mention that this research of ours was accepted at IIT Kharagpur, IEEE section, and it is yet to be published. But yeah, this work, since as I told, that age factor and few of the things which was new for us and new for the entire community itself, which was liked by the IEEE section of IIT Kharagpur, and they have accepted this paper in the 11th IEEE NT conference, and in the coming future or in coming few months, it will be live on the IEEE Explore website.
Okay, so let's hope you keep that research thing so
Definitely.
active. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nishan. Thanks once
Uh,
again.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.